What's happening, folks? The Jags got faster, but is it fast enough? I'll tell you my opinion in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You heard what she said. She said it's your team every day. And that's true. And we thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find a whole bunch of places. And I'm going to tell you some of them right now over on YouTube at the YouTube page that's called Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you go over there and subscribe first. Then hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Then hit the bell so you receive notifications each and every time we drop an episode. Also, wherever you get your audio podcast, those are podcasts that you listen to where you can't see my face. Make sure you tap into that location every single day so you do not miss an episode of Locked On Jaguars. LinkedIn helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us here every single day. And you can be an everydayer. All you got to do is join us every single day. Ran into a bunch of them yesterday. A bunch of little wigglings running around here, little everydayers, right? Saw my man D'Angelo. I had to remember how to remember his name. I started thinking about the singer D'Angelo. Not the video where he didn't have no shirt on. I was thinking about the other videos, when he was singing Yo, My Lady and all of that stuff. So shout out to my man D'Angelo for being everyday. Hit me up in the barbershop and let me know. And then I went to dinner last night. I was at dinner with somebody very, very special, but a good friend of mine. Before I got there, I ran into the Hemp Hills, right? It's the most amazing thing. Dude he looked like me. He's just a white guy. He just looked like the white version of Wig, right? He says, "Hey man, Tony Wiggins." I said, "Yeah, that's me." He says, I'm Hemp Hill. And then he turns and says, "Dad, look." And his dad goes, "Oh my God," right? And his dad runs up and then he says, "Honey, look." And then his wife looked at me and said, now she complimented me. She came and told me, "I'm just so used to seeing your face. You do." I don't know why I love people's moms like that, man. They always just make me feel like I'm a part of the family. So shout out to the Hemp Hills. Man, I told y'all, if I see y'all in public, if y'all make me feel as good as D'Angelo and the Hemp Hills did yesterday, man, I'm telling you, you make sure you holler at me, especially at training camp, which starts next week. And that's why I'm excited. Fans got excited yesterday. I'm going to talk in segment 3 about one of the reasons they got excited, because the Jaguars unveiled some throwback uniforms to commemorate 30 years. And boy, are they dope. They are the dopest uniforms, some of the dopest uniforms I've seen, at least top 5 in the NFL. I'll tell you all about that great rollout that the Jaguars did. And not just about that, but about the rollout itself and what it means for them to be getting a lot of this stuff right that they missed an opportunity on in the past. In the middle of the show, I'm going to talk about whether they have an advantage or a disadvantage with their speed. Now, it's going to either be one or the other. It's not going to be, we're not going to stay neutral here. They were neutral last year. So in the first segment, we're going to check on the Jags team speed. How about that? And we're going to find out if it is a strength or a weakness, whereas in last year it wasn't a strength or a weakness, but that's almost wrong. Like, if it's not a strength, it's definitely a weakness, because other teams that you're going to play, they're going to be really, really fast. And you got to keep up with somebody. And I hate to mention this team again, so let's go ahead and start right here, not bury the lead. Listen, man, the Chiefs, I don't know why it seems like they are just cutting loose and getting all of these fast players, but they got that Worthy kid out of Texas. They got one or two other people. I think they got Hollywood Brown who can run. And it's like, it's almost as if they're trying to play in everybody's face, right? It's like we lose Tyreek Hill and then we go get the dude that broke the 40-yard dash record a couple of years later. And in between time, we won a championship without Tyreek Hill. So, look, we ain't need him, but we think we might have another one. So that's what they're doing. They're getting faster. Where do the Jaguars stack up? Are they quick enough? Are they fast enough? Functional speed. And I mean just team speed. I'm not talking about just getting dudes that can run. Remember, Urban Meyer got here, and Urban Meyer just kept bringing all these fast dudes in here, Philip Dorsett and all these other guys. and just tell them to run down the field like Trevor's just going to heave the ball down there. And like the defense is going to just let them run right by him, right? I'm talking about functional team speed. In the trenches, the backs, functional team speed allows you to play fast. Having fast players allows those players to play fast and give you a fast element to your team, which could still be slow in the grand scheme of things. So the question is do they have that functional team speed that will allow them to play fast? And it really, really helps too, because the Jaguars used a lot of, they go into this no huddle thing every now and then, and you don't necessarily need team speed to go into no huddle, because what you're really trying to affect is tempo. But it would also help if the tempo had a fear factor attached to it that people are going to get run by. They weren't slow. Zay Jones wasn't a slow football player. Christian Kirk isn't a slow football player. I think both of them have track backgrounds. Jamal Agnew wasn't slow. He wasn't as fast as he looked. I think he was more quick than he was fast as he looked. I ain't never seen nobody catch him, but he was just really shifty and nifty. And that's like a little fast guy, right? The Jaguars made a point to get more physical in certain areas. And sometimes when you get more physical, that means you get bigger. Not all the time, but a lot of time it kind of makes sense that those things are kind of married to each other. And if you get bigger, sometimes when you get bigger, you sacrifice niftiness or shiftiness and speed. I think there's a way to get bigger and maintain speed. And I think the Jaguars actually did that. Isn't that something? I think there's a way to do it. And one of the reasons I think there's a way to do it, because I've seen other teams be big and fast at the same time. And I just witnessed what the Jacksonville Jaguars just did. I think Devin Duvernay is just as fast or faster than Jamal Agnew, and he's about 20 pounds bigger. I think Keelan Robinson is one of the faster players that were in the draft. Wasn't as fast as the worthy kid that's in Kansas City, but he was one of the faster guys in the draft, and they added him also. I think Travis Etienne was already fast, so now you got a whole bunch of fast dudes that you can have an opportunity to get the ball to. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is fast, very fast for a guy that size at 6'3", 212 pounds. Gabe Davis always seemed to be open. While he might not be a burner, he's a big dude, so he probably runs faster than a big dude is supposed to be running. And at least that's the way it looks, because he averaged 16 yards a catch. I also believe that Evan Ingram, being a pseudo wide receiver playing tight end, is faster than most people are at that position. The key is can they put it all together, and can they play fast? You can be fast, but you have to play fast. So I know this is a wordplay. You can be fast, but how can you be fast if you can't be fast? Well, we ain't gonna go through that. But anyway, you can actually be fast and then play slow. That's what I mean to say. Hopefully the Jaguars won't do that. I'm going to talk about whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage. We're not going to be neutral here. We're going to either say it's one or the other. I'm going to go with the side of the advantage. But I got a bunch of reasons why I'll tell you why that is the case. And I'll get into that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. And today's show is also brought to you and sponsored by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find professionals that are right for that role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, man. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to a specific role. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, second segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We always thank you for making us your first listen. Doing a little speed check for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We went through some of the players on offense, and now let's go through some of the players on defense. I think they're going to play faster because of scheme. I think they're plenty fast. I think Trayvon Walker might be, along with Myles Garrett, maybe the two fastest defensive ends in the league if you put them in a race. Josh Allen isn't slow. I do think for a man his size, Devon Hamilton is pretty nifty for a dude that's 330 pounds. Roy Robertson Harris is very athletic for his size. And then those young guys, Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson, I think they're pretty fast too. So the front, I believe, is fast. They got an element of some backup, some young guys that I do also believe add a lot of speed to that unit. Linebackers, they run like the wind, man. The key is they got to be running to the right place other than Foye Oluokun. So we'll see if that works. But I think they're plenty fast enough to go sideline to sideline. And now that you have more beef up front to keep blockers off of them and to let them just float to the ball, I think that's going to be an advantage. Tyson Campbell has track speed. Even though Ronald Darby's a little bit older, he was a fast player even when he came out of high school and was at Florida State. Jarian Jones runs pretty well. He ran a 4.3 40. And I would probably put Andre Cisco in a race with any safety in the league. I think he's that fast. So Antonio Johnson can also get sideline to sideline. So, yeah, I think the team speed will be fine because now you're going to have a scheme that allows those guys to get where they're going, keep everything in front of them, and be very sudden. And that's always a good thing with me. I prefer speed. I don't like to go overboard with speed if it means that you're going to ignore a whole bunch of other stuff. But I do believe that the Jaguars will, in fact, have an advantage when it comes to team speed. Now, there will be teams that will be able to match them, and we're going to see that in week one. The Dolphins got a track team. I'm talking about at skill positions. When you look at their running backs and their wide receivers, they are unreal in terms of the type of speed that they have, and we know it. Even the defensive backs, Jalen Ramsey and those dudes aren't slow. Those dudes can run. So, and the way that they want to play, they're pretty nifty up front too in their front seven. So they're going to have a test right away to see if they can hang speed-wise. The only thing I might worry about a little bit is the continuity that Miami has on offense in terms of their quarterback and their skill players. And the Jaguars having a new scheme that they're running week one against a team like that. That's the only trepidation that I have. But at some point, you got to find some confidence, right, and say they're going to be able to get that done. They're going to be able to take care of it. So Kansas City, Miami, there are some other teams that like Detroit. Detroit's, other than the running back, Detroit's wide receivers, the Williams kid is fast, but their best player, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he ain't really fast, but he plays fast. And I think that's the difference that I'm trying to say. You can run a 4.5, 4.6 40, but when you have the pads on Sundays when the games count and you play faster than that time, then that time becomes null and void and it doesn't really matter. So some of some of the things that determines how fast you play is how much do you know what you're supposed to be doing and how in tune are you with the offense. Give you a perfect example. You ever drove without a navigation system, but you knew the directions and you're slowing down and you're looking and people behind you are blowing the horn? It's because you don't really know where you're going, right? Now, have you ever driven a route that you know very well? You ain't got no problem. You whipping that thing around curves. You driving with one hand because you know exactly where you're going. And you might actually be sort of traveling the same speed, but because you know where you're going, you don't have to stop and look. That's the way football works for me. I think the more in tune you are with the scheme and how you're supposed to be playing and the things that you're supposed to be doing, I truly believe you have an advantage over the other team because you know where you're going and they don't know where you're going. But if you don't know where you're going and they don't know where you're going, then y'all look like two people out there trying to figure it out together. And football doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So, yeah, knowing the timing of plays on offense knowing where guys are supposed to be on defense, communicating pre-snap, everybody doing their job, will make a team that may have some issues with speed look like a team that doesn't have issues with speed, that are faster. It's because it's called having that navigation system. Like I said, they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So on paper, there are really only, I think I named two of them already, Kansas City and KC, as well as Miami. I'm trying to think of some other teams that you would really consider team. One, I'll tell you what, Green Bay's coming in here, and Green Bay's fast. And they got continuity, and they got young receivers. They got like 4 of them. And they got a fast running back in Jacobs. Even though they let Jones go, they still got a really fast team. And they're fast because they play that way. They play with a lot of tempo, and then they get real rhythmic on you. So that's another opponent that we really have to watch out for. And don't let me forget about Houston. I forgot all about Tank Dell and those receivers and the way that they play on defense. Their defense is fast with Danielle Hunter, and now Danielle Hunter to go with Will Anderson and the guys that they have in their athletic defensive backfield. That is another fast team. So that's 2 games against them this year coming up, because it's obviously a division game where you're going to see if they're fast enough. Remember, Tank Dell got behind him a couple of times last year, early in the season. So it's going to be a telltale sign, man. You're going to have games where it's going to be extremely early in the season where you can look up and the test, brother, it's going to be side by side, and you're going to be able to tell whether or not the Jaguars have enough functional team speed, meaning not just fast guys, but guys who play fast along with having that speed. And like I said, there's some people that believe, the old Al Davis, just get the fastest guy you can all the time. I don't really believe that. I think you have to get the guy who plays with the most, who has some speed, who's not slow, but also has the wherewithal and the thought and understanding of what he's supposed to be doing. That what's going to happen is he's also going to play fast with that speed. Somebody that played really fast. I'll give you 2 examples. Jimmy Smith, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew. They used to play really fast. They were absolutely fast, and then they were smart football players who knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing. Keenan McCardell played fast, wasn't a burner, but he wasn't slow either. And the reason why it looked like he was faster than he was probably is because he was so intelligent. You notice I just mentioned all of those dudes from the past. Well, the Jaguars took their fans on a blast from the past and created the dopest 30-year reunion throwback uniform that everybody is probably want to clamor for it being the regular uniform. It is fabulous. It is absolutely dope. We're going to talk about that and how the fans got really excited and how the messaging for this for Jacksonville is a breath of fresh air based on some of the things that they missed out on in the past. We'll talk about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. If you need therapy, man, BetterHelp is the place that you need to be. If you're considering it, I'm telling you, it is something that should be taken very seriously. And they are super helpful. I've had to deal with pain management, sleep deprivation, not having enough time to spend with my loved ones, even loss of relatives and friends in the last year. Therapy was the answer for me, and it could be the answer for you too, man, because it really helps. And with BetterHelp, you can switch therapists at any time. If you feel like you want to reset and maybe get somebody else, they'll do that for you too. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. All right, third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. Got to remind you that if you haven't seen Locked On Sports Today, you need to go do it, man, because if you're tired of all the yelling and screaming on Fox and ESPN on your TV all day, then make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels at part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Speaking of days, the Jaguars won the day on Thursday, the week before training camp, by unveiling their throwback uniforms, which are replicas of the 30th anniversary uniforms worn by the Jacksonville Jaguars, when a lot of legends. Tony Baselli, the only Hall of Famer, well, the only official Hall of Famer for the Jacksonville Jaguars, because we think we have more than that, but those guys had them. They rolled this out with a video with Leon Searcy singing his old rap song that he made a long, long time ago with, I think it was members of 95 South. They rolled it out with a bit of a, like it was an old bookstore or old gear store, and Searcy was back with his glasses on reading his newspaper. And Tyson Campbell and Andre Sisco came in looking for something. And they got an old box, and they looked through the old box and they pulled them out. And then they made a video, and they played Searcy's old music, and he started rapping. Leon was great. He was great then, he's great now. And these young guys really pay homage to the past. And I love the connectivity of that, because I don't think we have enough of that. Everybody calling everybody old heads and these young whippersnappers. Nah, it was all love. And that resonated with the fans. And the fans showed up and showed out. They came to the stadium yesterday when the Jaguar store had the practice facility, the Miller Electric practice facility. When they opened the store yesterday, it was flooded with people buying that jersey. Them folks got some money from somewhere. I love it when people just show up with money and just start buying stuff, especially when it's hot. Like, you ask for something and you show up and you go out, support, and go do it. And that's exactly what happened yesterday, to the point where people have been asking me for a couple of weeks, man, you got to do something on the uniforms. And I was like, I don't know what I can talk about with the uniforms, man. I don't know the angle that I can talk. Okay, the uniforms are nice. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? So the angle that I came up with was, what a good move and what a good day and what great execution by a franchise that has really, I tell you, you know who executes stuff well all the time? The Bold City Brigade, when they roll their gear out and how they introduce it to you and make you feel like you just have to have it. But this is the first time the Jaguars, in my opinion, have done something like this, where they actually did, they did it right, man. And it wasn't even about, just for me, what they were talking about. It was how they did it. And I was like, man, that's some great execution, because I've been dying to say that about the Jaguars. Now, look, everything is going to happen on the field. All of the stuff that's going to either make you cry or make you laugh will happen on the football field, right? And they could be wearing diapers backwards, and if they win, it would have looked fine to everybody. Okay, well, maybe not, especially the offensive linemen, and maybe a couple of those defensive linemen, but you know what I mean. We guys built like us, we ain't just built to be wearing diapers backwards in public. But my point is, they did it right, man. They got it right. Even I've been saying this. If you followed the Locked On Jaguars podcast, you know I've always talked about not only the product, but the messaging and how they were getting information out and how they were doing things. And sometimes the social media team in the past I don't know if it's even the same people, but they took a little bit of a beating because of some of the things that they do. And it could be a brilliant thing that you're trying to do, but if the team isn't having the success that people expect, and like the last 2 years, they won 9 games. That was way more than anybody could have ever expected in years prior to that, other than 2017. But folks actually thought they were going to be good, so 9 wins wasn't enough. 9 wins was fine in 2022, but not in 2023. They wanted more. So maybe it's a swing and a miss here or there, or maybe it's not. Maybe what happens is the social media team puts out this clever stuff, and how it's received is dependent on how the team is playing. But they're not playing right now. So if you got days before training camp where you have to give excitement and roll stuff out, this is the day that you do it, and they won the day. That's it. They won the day. Absolutely won the day. And you got to give them props, especially if you get on them all the time about not doing stuff. As far as the uniforms themselves, man, they're tough. They always were tough. But I still find it funny that those are uniforms at some point people wanted them to get rid of them. And see, it proved my point. They love those uniforms until that team started losing. Those teams back in the early 2000s started losing. And guess what? We need to change that junk. I promise you, how can somebody love these uniforms so much when they begged people to get rid of them before? Was it just trends? No, it wasn't just trends. If they were winning, those uniforms would have become like Alabama's crimson and white. They would have become tradition, and no one would have wanted to touch them. They want to keep. Look at Green Bay. Look at Pittsburgh. Nope, we're going to keep our same uniforms. You know why? Because we're successful. That's called branding. But if you don't have anything to brand, if you don't have anything to put with those uniforms that actually create great memories, the first thing that those people did back in the early 2000s was say, we need to get rid of the uniforms. And ironically, now everybody wants them back, which is cool because fans do fan things, and that's all right. But at the end of the day, the Jacksonville Jaguars staff, whoever was responsible for the rollout, whoever decided that those are the uniforms that they were going to use, kudos, man. I got to give it up to you because I'm telling you, you absolutely nailed it. And there probably wasn't anybody on the day that y'all wrote this stuff out. There probably wasn't anybody in America better at their job than you guys. So congratulations. I'm glad y'all did it. I'm glad it went the way that it did. I couldn't be happier. And the fans are happy. And that's what it is. Even the interaction with Jaguar fans change when they're really happy and giddy about something. They get really, really nice. They get really, really nice. Hopefully all of this translates to football. Here's what we got. Credential is done. I got it, right? I ain't saying there was any doubt, but I don't ever take anything for granted. And I'm grateful that the Jaguars consider me important enough to give me a credential. I'm going to training camp. I'm going to be doing updates every single day. I'll try to do them from the actual field, but I have to follow the protocol because there's certain times you can record and certain times you can't. But after practice, I'll try to give as many of these updates as I can, and it will start next week when training camp happens. We're about to heat this thing up, man. We're less than a week out, and we will be on the football field with the 2024 version of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I cannot wait. Me, for one, I can't wait at all. You guys make sure you hang in there, have a very nice weekend. It's extremely hot this weekend. Make sure y'all take care of each other. If you're in Jacksonville, if you're not, thank you for listening, and I'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on back here next week. Make sure you tap in to Locked On Jaguars. Where's your team every day? We thank you for making us your first listen. And remember to check out Locked On Sports today. It's streaming on Amazon Fire TV and the Free Fire TV channels app. That's right, 24/7, covering the biggest stories. They're going to be all over training camp next week, so you make sure you get on that also. All right, we'll see y'all next week when training camp gets started. Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars.